haven't thought through that yet.
Tell you how some fun tonight, kind of tell you where our legs came from, because that was always encouraging to me, because it gave me hope when I would hear how other people sponsored their organization and their legs to go diamond. And our entire organization came from meeting people out in the marketplace. We didn't sponsor anybody that we knew before the business.
And we lived in the same area our whole life.
Our whole life.
Knew lots of people.
Knew lots of people, but we were very involved with our church and so forth. And the first couple that we called that were just really good friends, we grew up across the street from them and stuff. I called them and I said, hey, you're home? And he said, yeah. And you got to realize we had moved out of the trailer park into a 1,200 square foot estate. Okay, we were moving on up. All right, and they were always talking about they wanted to get out of the trailer park. And so I called him up and I said, hey man, I got something to come tell you about. And he goes, it's not Amway, is it? Out of the blue, that's what he says. I mean, I don't know what he could have said. It's not a zebra, is it? Okay, I mean, it'd been just as relevant. But he said, and I was like, well, yeah, sure is. I'll be right there. And this is the type friend that you go to the house and knock on, hey, and walk on in the door, you know. And I got there and he meets me at the door. He says, she don't want to hear about it. And I'm like, what? And he says, she doesn't want to hear about it. And I'm like, dude, this could be the answer for all of us. It'd be something we could do together. We used to love to play golf and stuff. We could be free and play golf and do. He goes, she doesn't want to hear about it. And that was my first experience of a male with a tail. Okay, all right, mouse of the house, all right. But anyway, and so I walked in and she's got a blanket pulled over. I've known her my whole life now. She wouldn't even look at me. And I'm like, what is this? You know, and so anyway, walked out that night and they got on the phone and called our entire circle of friends and told them, Danny or Renata are doing Amway. If they call you, that's what they're doing. And none of them knew anything about it. And they didn't know what I'd seen. They didn't know what I was trying to bring Renata home to raise our family instead of shipping her out and putting our kids in a daycare. They didn't know our motives. They didn't know anything. They knew nothing. But they had this preconceived idea and wouldn't even open the window for us to talk to them. And so they called all our friends and told them. So I would call our friends up our list and they go, Danny, we heard what you're doing. We're not interested. Click, click, click. And that's how our business started. Absolute rejection. Our family were like, Danny, don't get your hopes up. They wouldn't listen. Nobody would listen. But we had seen too much. I'd heard too much on the audios. And I realized, I remember my mom, she said, we're not going to keep your baby for you to go to Amway meetings. And I said, well, Mom, I'll just get another babysitter. I said, because I'm grown now. I got a family and kids. And I said, I'm not going to listen to Mommy and Daddy telling me what to do about everything from now on. And I grew up. And I'll just tell you, see, here's the thing. You're going to hit adversity of some type. I don't know what it may be. If you sponsor your family and your friends, then God bless you. I'm happy for you. But at some point, you're going to hit some adversity. And the key is, are you going to stick through it? Are you going to hang on to your dreams? Or are you going to listen to other people's opinions and what they say about you and hang on to that? Whenever they say something you don't need to hear, you just go delete, and you click it out of your brain. You don't let it come in. And you go, I'm a winner. I'm made for significance. I'm made for success. And you just start reprogramming your brain with your mouth. And you can win. I'm just telling you. You just reject it. You just wash it away. And so that's how our business started. But I'd seen too much, and I remember, just going out to have a conversation with somebody who was a stranger was a weird thing. And you go, well, you were in car sales. Yeah, but they came into the dealership already knowing what they were coming to look for, and I didn't have to go meet them. I would greet them and find the right car for them and lead them to it and help them with it. But meeting somebody in a buffet line or talking to somebody on the elevator, I mean, you ever notice how nobody talks to anybody on the elevators? Right? You want to do something really just weird people out, just get on the elevator and don't turn around. Just face them all. And just go, how you doing? And I mean, they'll back up like, whoa, what's going on? Okay, people get on the elevator and they just look at the numbers, right? Total silence. Just start being friendly. And I had to work my way into that. I would see people and I knew I needed to meet people because my list was gone. And I would say, hi. And they would go, hi. And I would just keep walking. Right? I finally advanced to, hi, how you doing? And I wouldn't even wait to hear what they said. It was just getting over the hump of just breaking the ice for me. But here's what happened. I was more my dream and desire was greater to take care of my family than what it was about what some stranger would think of me. And so we just went out there and started talking to people. And I'm hogging all the time, and I apologize. So why don't you kick in and roll here, okay?
This doesn't really bother me that he talks all the time. Unless I have
She's had 41 years of me talking all the time. But anyway.
Well, he's talking about, changing and being able to talk to people and everything. And it's just those small habits. And, just like he was talking about learning how to say, say hello to people and start leading into conversation and everything. But small habits change with tiny changes. And that's all this whole business is making those small changes so that you can develop customers, so that you can develop new IBOs and everything. And sometimes when habits don't come quickly, we let them slide. But if you will stay on course and you will stay focused on those small habits that you happen to change, and it may be that like when you come home from work, maybe to see your kids or whatever, staying dressed. Don't dress down so you get relaxed. Stay dressed so that after Danny used to come in for 20 minutes and he would have tickle fights and then he would leave and go out and to meet people and everything. But if he had ever changed his clothes and gotten comfortable, it would have been so easy to have just sat on the couch and not done anything that night. So it's those first steps that you do that change those habits and everything. I have a friend who she runs every morning. She runs like 5 to 10 miles every morning. And what she does, she sleeps in her workout clothes, what she's going to go run in the next morning. So when she wakes up, she's already dressed. And, that's just one of the things that she does to make sure that she does what she's trying to accomplish. So in the same way, that's what he did. But he's got, he's going to tell you where these legs came from, and he's got some really hilarious stories, so I don't want to talk.
Well, one thing I want to mention is when we started our business, it was not digital. It was not on the internet. There was no internet. I mentioned earlier about, high tech was if somebody had a long cord on their phone on the wall. Okay. All right. And so at that time we got started, somebody had to handle call-in of products and handling of products and so forth like that. And, you start running platinum and ruby and double ruby volume. That was a lot of volume coming through. And so Renata was busy handling all that, plus 2 small children. She had a full plate. And today, the way things have gone online with direct fulfillment of your products and things like that, it's freed people up. And women are just as capable of meeting and talking to people as guys are. It's just, this is our story. But I want to encourage you, one person can get a lot done, but 2 can multiply many times over. You've heard the story about Clydesdale can pull 8,000 pounds, and they hooked 2 of them up thinking that they could pull 16,000 pounds. But when they hooked them up, they actually could pull 32,000 pounds. And so it multiplies. It doesn't just add. So if you're a couple, why not both go meet people? Why not both talk to people? Because women can break open conversations many times much easier than guys do. Because guys, we got this male ego and we're trying to act cool and like everything's under control. And women will just see kids, and they're just talking, and they'll get right into the financial situation and, everything. And, it's like Stephanie and Drew, that Drew talks about how good Stephanie is just going into like Whole Foods and she'll see somebody with an eggplant and she'll go, how are you going to cook that? And the woman just stops and, well, I do this, and it slows them down enough that he can then talk to the man and they can get a connection going there. And so that's where you can work in partnership and in tandem. And that's the beauty of our business is, there's so many single girls that are building the business now and tearing it up. On our team. And so I just want to encourage you, even though we may tell our story about things I did, it's things that you can all do. And thank God that Amway went online with things. So a lot of the detail handling of products and stuff that some of you did when you got your business started like us, you don't have to do anymore. So it frees you up to just multiply your efforts and go after it. But, coming up through the business, we would we would come to functions and we hear about a new product brought out by Amway, and we would get excited, and they'd do a demo on stage and stuff. Now, how hard is it to drink a bottle of perfect water? That doesn't take a whole lot of demo, right? Okay, or an excess or something. So I love the products that we have there, and we always believe in Nutrilite, and we believe for strong health, and we take our Nutrilite. And I think that's a great combination. And so that may not be scientific, but it works, okay? And so anyway, but they would come out with these new products every once in a while, and we'd get all excited because we were just trying to create volume somehow. And I told you about the guys at the dealership and how they gave me a hard time. And I always had this belief that somehow, some way I was going to change their mind and break through to them, and they'd want to be, in our business with us. And they did, one time they came out with a thing called Halon fire extinguishers. This was a year ago. Some of y'all may remember that. And I remember we went to the function, and they did a little demo where they took a candle and they lit it, and they would take a bottle, like a soft drink bottle, and they would just go, and Halon, you can't see it. It's like a gas, and it would just shoot into the bottle, and they'd put the thumb over the top of the bottle like that, and then they would have the candle flame up there like this, and they would say, watch this, and they would just take the bottle and they would hold it over the flame, and you didn't see anything, but it would go and just snuff the candle out. And then they would light it again, and they would hold the bottle up, and it would just snuff the candle out. And we're like, oh my goodness, this is awesome. I mean, we were very simple-minded people, okay, all right? And so Larry and I, we came back to the dealership, and we're like, this is going to be the deal. And so we went over to the used car lot, and we said, we got a new product y'all need to see. And they're like, okay, all right, show us what you got now. Okay, and so we said, well, it's a Halon fire extinguisher. And we broke this baby out, and we took a piece of paper towel, tissue, something like that, and put it in an ashtray on one of the guys' desks, and we set it on fire. And so we just went and shot it into the neck of the soda bottle, and now watch this. And we hold it up, and we take our thumb off, and the flame just got bigger, okay? And we're like, oh, my goodness. And we do it again, and what it was, the flame was too big for the little bit of Halon that was coming out, and the flame just started going, whoom, whoom, again. And pretty soon, it's like a flame on his desk, and we go, oh, my goodness, and we stand back with the fire extinguisher, go, and we hit it and blow ashes all over his desk and all over the office. And they're like, yeah, that's really good, guys, and so we just kind of walk out of the place going, oh, my goodness, And so then they came out with perimeter alarms. This was an alarm system where you would have little door sensors and window sensors and stuff. And, I told you I didn't read for the first 4.5 years, okay? And so naturally I wouldn't read the instructions on how to work the thing, all right? But I set an appointment up as this man who'd bought several cars from me, and he was a big executive at this big office, and I said, I called him up and I said, I've got a new product I'd like to show you. It's an alarm system. He goes, all right, come on by, Danny. So I went by his office, and they had these little demo kits, and it had a little door on it and a little window that you could open. It had the sensors and all. And so I walk in with my little demo kit, and I walk in, and this office is huge. I mean, like big. And he's sitting at his big wooden desk, and he's got a little stogie in his mouth, and he's kind of in his rocking chair. He goes, all right, what you got, Danny? And so I said, well, it's a new alarm system, and da-da-da-da. And I start selling them on how good it is. And I said, when the window sensor breaks open, somebody opens your window, it sets it off. I said, so now be ready. I said, because this is going to be loud. And he's sitting there just rocking his chair with smoking his cigar, listening to me. And so I go, ready? And I go, and I raise the little window on the little demo kit, and it was total silence. And he's sitting there going, And then so I said, well, here, let me try it again. Let me try the door. And I went, total silence. Well, I hadn't read the instructions that every time you did it, you had to wait like 30 seconds for it to rearm. And so I'm here opening the window, flipping the doors, and nothing was happening. And I was like, let me check the battery on this thing. I was freaking. I was like, what do I do now? I'm in panic mode. And he's sitting there. He hadn't said a word. He's just smoking a cigar and rocking, And he looks at me. And finally I just turned to him. I said, I don't know what the problem is. I said, but when it goes off, it goes, woo, 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 woo. And I start imitating the alarm, okay? That's a great sales pitch, boy. And he just sitting there rocking, and he goes, Okay, Danny, I think I've seen enough. And he just starts waving me off with his pinky, like, get out of my office. And so I go back to the dealership, and Larry's waiting. He said, how'd it go? And I'll go, oh, you don't want to know. And I'm telling you, I was lower than a pregnant ant. I was so, I'm telling you, it was like, oh my goodness. And we were just trying. We just didn't know. We were just trying. Our upline was already an executive diamond, so we were not even on the radar. You know, it was like we weren't getting personal mentorship. We'd go to a function and we hear something, we'd go home and try it, you know. And so the thing is, here's what we had. We just had a never quit attitude and a desire. And we made so many mistakes, but we learned from the mistakes, and we wouldn't let it blow us out. We didn't care what people said. We just said, we're going to keep going. And so the thing is because of our attitude, people started thinking we're doing good. Not because we were telling them how great we were. But our pastor at our church, he came to me one time. He said, we're going to have a men's breakfast. And he said, why don't you come in and talk to them about business? You're a business owner. And I said, be glad to. And so we have a men's breakfast at the church. And I'm the keynote speaker that morning. And so I just walk in and I set up the board and easel. And I show the plan. And so we get through and he goes, I wasn't expecting you to show your plan. I said, well, it's the only business I know. It's the best one out there, so why not? And he's like, that wasn't what I was expecting. And one guy out of the church came up to me afterwards, and he goes, that's pretty interesting. And I said, yeah. And he never really got started, but he gave me 3 names. And I started calling them. So I called one. He said, I've already seen it. Called another one. He said, I'm already registered. Called a third one, and he goes, yeah, you can come talk to me. And so I get to his house, and he lives in a trailer park. And see, remember my trailer, we had the deck on the side. We had underpinning, okay? We were the real deal. We were in the high upscale trailer park, okay? All right. This guy, he didn't even have steps on the trailer. It was almost as high as from here to the stage. I don't know how they got the trailer, just shinnied up, I guess, every time they got in there. And I walk in the trailer, and he's sitting there, and there's a UNC ball game on. And if you're down from North Carolina, you're either a UNC fan, an NC State fan, a Duke fan, or a Wake Forest fan. That's Tobacco Road. They're all 30 miles from each other. There's no professional basketball teams in there because everybody's so wild and crazy about the college sports there. I know here in Ohio, you only have the Ohio State. I know that, okay, all right? But down there, it's all mixed up, and it's very competitive. And I don't have an affection for UNC, Carolina. And so I walk in, and he's watching a Carolina game. He's wearing his boxer shorts. And we're having a business meeting, okay? I've shinnied up into his trailer. And so he's watching the ball game, and I walk, and I'm like, and see, I was so grizzled by this time with nose, I was ready for a fight. You know, just bring it on. Let me take out about 3 years of frustration right here tonight, okay, you know? And so I walked over to his TV, and I cut his TV off. I said, we had a business meeting scheduled. I didn't want to watch Carolina anyway, okay? And he looked at me like, are you crazy? And I thought we were going to go right down right now. You know, I don't care if you get in. Just give me a chance to punch somebody. That's just what I wanted, okay? And so he just looked at me like, are you crazy? And his wife, she said, I want a different life. She said, come show it to me. And so he sat over in his recliner. He turned the ball game back on, and I went over in the kitchen and showed it to her. And they didn't get started, but she gave me a list of names again. And so out of that became a leg. They gave me another name, and I called one of these names, and I went and talked to the guy, showed him the plan. And his wife wouldn't even come downstairs when I went to show it to him. She just stayed up there, didn't want to have nothing to do with it. And he told me, he said, well, my brother was in this. And I said, is that right? He goes, yeah. He says, I know all about it. I said, did you know that we market MCI? Now, y'all don't even know what MCI is, but back then that was the first branch out that Amway had outside of marketing just their products into networking. And it's out of business now, but it was a telephone company. And he goes, I didn't know about that. And I said, then you don't know all about it, do you? And so I showed him the plan, and so I gave him the literature and everything, and I was scheduled to go back a couple of days later and talk to him. I went back to his house, and his dad's sitting there with him, and I'm like, great. He's done called his dad. And I said, well, you went through the literature? And he goes, yep. He said, I want to do what you do. And this has been 3.5 years, folks. And I almost started crying. I almost started doing jumping jacks. I didn't know what to do. I was so excited, but I had to be cool hand Luke, like, well, everybody wants to do it, okay? And so, but inside I was just doing cartwheels. I was like, hot dog, okay? And so anyway, so that led to one of our biggest legs today, right? You just never know where it's going to come from. That came from being asked to do a business meeting at the church. Another leg that we had was a guy came and got a job at the dealership. And he had been there about 20 minutes, and I was just looking for some fresh meat to talk to, okay? Because I couldn't stand being locked up at that dealership for 10 hours a day and couldn't talk to people. And I walked up to him, I said, so is this what you're going to do the rest of your life? Now, I'm not saying all these approaches that I'm doing, or you listen to your coach here, okay? I'm just telling you mistakes we made that turned out okay, all right? All right? I said, this is what you're going to do the rest of your life? And he goes, no. I said, well, good. Let me show you what you can do. And I sat down right at his desk. He'd been on the job 20 minutes. I'm showing him the plan, okay? And he's still in today. I haven't seen him in years, but it led to a leg that went emerald. And I just worked in that leg, and he gets a check, and his life was changed through the business. And he's very active with his family and stuff like that today. He lives up in Minnesota now. And great guy. And he's just not chose to build the business, but what it did, it opened the door to somebody else. And I just kept chasing depth until I found somebody with a dream and would stick with it. Then we had another leg. I told you I quit my job at 1900 PV. Brilliant. I'm giving you so many great ideas this weekend, okay? All right. And so before I quit, I had just joined a gym in Raleigh, and I went to this gym, and I hated working out. I'm like, what did I do? I don't like getting out. Now, I play ball all day long if there's a score, but getting on a treadmill or something, it's like torture to me, okay? And like you're not going anywhere. You're just in place. And I want to go, and so, but I said, well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to this gym until I contact somebody that gets in my business and goes platinum. And then the 4%, which is now 6% check, will pay for my gym membership, pay me back, and I'll declare it won't be a loss there. So I went to the gym, and I was always looking. I had my antennas up, and I looked, and I saw a guy on the treadmill, and he's just getting it on the treadmill and got a big smile on his face. I was like, he either loves working out or he's absolutely crazy. I said, that's the kind of attitude I want over there. And so I went and got on the one next to him, and I'm just sitting there going, and I contacted him about the business. He said, yeah, I'm looking. He's not here anymore, but led to another platinum leg. Right? Then the next leg was I was still working at the dealership, and the guy who was in charge of the insurance and the 401k plan and all this stuff, he comes up to me. Now you got to remember, we were about founder 600s, okay? But I was going diamond. I'd already made my mind up on that, and he comes up and he goes, "I want to talk to you about the 401k plan here." I said, "I've got my own plan," and he goes, "Thank you very much." And he goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm building my Amway business," and thought he would go, and back away. And he goes, "Really?" And he said, "I used to be in that." I said, "I still am." And he goes, "I know that works." He said, "Would you talk to my son-in-law? He needs something." I said, "Sure." And so I went and talked to his son-in-law. It led to another platinum leg. Okay. Now here's what I think, the thin thread of where all these came from. But I was always expecting every day to meet somebody that was going to be a new leg, a new organization, and change our business. I believed every day when I got up, because it was the vision and the focus on my mind. I went to bed thinking about it. I woke up thinking about it, and I still do today. We talk about our business all the time. Well, that's one of the strengths of our marriage is it's given us something common that we're working together now for the past 36 years. We talk about our team and where we're heading, what's going on, and what our future is about, because we're not just stuck with the way life is. We're thinking about how things can be better. And so I was coming home one night from work, and at that time I got a demo, a car, a free demo at that time, and they would even give gas and everything. So I didn't even have to buy gas, but I had to meet somebody. If I got off at 8:30 at night, I had to find some place to meet people, and Raleigh would basically shut down around that time. But there was one gas station that was open, and I would swing in there every night on the way home from work and just get a couple dollars worth of gas, and just to give me an excuse to meet somebody. and I would meet people at the gas pump. And then one night I pulled in there, and there was this young guy. He had a little truck and a little trailer with a mower on the back, and he was unloading it. And he was getting ready to mow the grass at the gas station. And I went over and I said, is this your lawn care business? And he said, yes, sir. He was 19 years old. And he said, and I said, well, that's pretty ambitious to already have your own business at this age. And I said, I've got a friend that has a lawn care business. I said, sometime when it rains, he gets backed up. Would you be interested in having extra work if he wanted to call you? And he goes, sure. Well, Larry, my sponsor, was mowing grass at that point. You know, he had a lawn care business. And I was thinking, well, I can shoot Larry some business. I said, but I'm going to check about my business first. So I called him back a few days later and talked to him about the business. I've got a business. I'm going to tell my friend about the lawn care thing, but are you open-minded to other ways? He says, yes, sir. So I talked to him, sponsored him, and he said, I want you to talk to my father-in-law. Well, not my father-in-law, my stepfather. I said, sure. And so I drove to his house and started showing the plan, and he's like, yeah, I wouldn't be interested in anything like Amway. And I said, okay, great. And so I just kept showing the plan. And so then when I finally got to the end, he goes, I didn't know it was anything like this. I said, most people don't. And he said, I'd be interested in coming to a meeting. And so he came to a meeting, and that leg is now, he's not even around anymore, but it's a ruby leg with a platinum in it and getting ready to break to. It's going to be an emerald leg this year. Mm-hmm. Just came off of that. You just never know, because here's what I'm going to talk to anybody I can and help anybody I can who wants to help themselves. And if they decide to go a different path, that's fine. Maybe I was just a good influence in their life while they're there, but I'm going to see where they lead me to and what doorway opens up. And that's the way we've chased it our whole career. Another leg was we had a graduation ceremony from Stephanie from kindergarten. And, you know, I didn't want to go, but I always said, well, I'm going to make the best of every opportunity. And I was like, we got to go, Danny, come on. And so I said, all right. So I go. So I walk in the little reception after the graduation. They had Oreos and punch and stuff. And I just looking around for the sharpest dude in the room. And I sat down next to him, start talking to him, brought up my business, dropped my message on him. And he was like, that sounds pretty interesting. And so he called me like a week or so later, and I was out of town in New York. In fact, our business was starting to take off at that point, and Larry and I had gone to see a New York Yankees game. I'd always wanted to go to Yankee Stadium to see a game, and so like middle of the week, because I was free now. You know, I'd quit at 1900 PV. I was a free man, right? Okay, and so we went to New York to see the Yankees play, and he called the house, and he goes, you know, Danny, is Danny there or not? He goes, no, he's actually in New York. And he goes, was he up there on business? She said, no, he went to see the Yankees play. And it was in the middle of the week, and that just intrigued him. He goes, in the middle of the week? She said, when's he going to be back? And she said, I don't know, 2 or 3 days. He's going to 2 or 3 ball games. And he was just intrigued. He said, well, please tell him to call me when he gets home. So I called him, and he was like, you went to a Yankees game in the middle of the week? I was like, sure. And he just said, I remember he was like, I showed him the plan. He wanted to do it. His wife didn't want to do it. We went to sign him up. And I'm not saying duplicate this, but she was sitting there on the floor next to the coffee table, and she was just crying. And I was like, what is the deal? She said, I don't want to do this. I said, well, he does. So here's the paper. You sign, you hold the pen, I'll move the paper. Okay. All right. And so maybe I didn't give a good impression to people out there about the business. Okay. But anyway, they didn't stick long, but they led us to somebody else and became another platinum leg for us. Okay. Then another one, was a guy when he heard, I was down at the courthouse taking care of some paperwork and doing some things, filing some things, and bumped into a guy down there, sharp-looking guy. And I said, hey, how you doing? And he goes, hi, Danny. And I'm like, what? I didn't know who he was. But what it was, he was a guy who was 5 years younger than me that had lived in the same neighborhood. And when I was the lifeguard at the neighborhood swimming pool, he was one of the kids running around down there. And he had always known me, like kids in the neighborhood always know the older people, but the older guys don't know the younger guys. And he knew who I was. And so I showed him the plan, and he got started and got rolling, and that was another platinum leg for us. All right. Then another one was, this is a guy who heard, this one went way back. This one, Renata and I went to a Christian conference for a weekend just to get away, get a break, work on ourselves. And we met a couple there at the conference, and because everywhere I went, I was going to meet people, and so I got his name. He lived in Charlotte, and I heard that one night there was a diamond coming into Charlotte to show the plan, and I thought, well, I want to go hear him. And so Charlotte's about 3 hours from Raleigh, so I had this name on my list. From when I'd met this guy, I didn't even remember what he looked like or anything, but I just called him back up. And he's from Charlotte. I approached him. He goes, yeah. And so he was supposed to meet me at the meeting, and he didn't show up until the attitude session afterwards. And I just was sitting there thinking, man, he didn't show up. And I looked at the back door, and he kind of stuck his head in the door, and I recognized him when I saw him. And I went back there and saw. I said, hey, man. He said, yeah, I got tied up. Sorry I was late. And they got in for a short period of time. In fact, I remember we went and signed them up on one of our anniversaries, didn't we? It was one of our anniversaries, and we went and drove to Charlotte to sign them up, because our business and our future was more important than a birthday or an anniversary. We could do those things on another day or whatever. We had a celebration on the way up. We went to dinner and signed them up. It was a great night, great way to celebrate an anniversary. We got a new leg started. And he called me one night. I went several times up there to do something, never had a guest, but he called me one night. He said, I got a friend in Atlanta, and he said, I think he might be interested. And I said, great. Well, Atlanta was about 7 hours from Raleigh. And I was like, all right, let's roll. And so he didn't go, but I went down there to do the meeting, and it led to another platinum leg. All right. And then another leg of ours, a guy heard that we had started Diamond Qualification. And this was a guy who I had known through a series of people who had been in the business before and quit. And he called me and he said, hey, I heard you're in Diamond Qualification. And I said, sure am. He said, well, you've proved again that it works. He said, I want to get back started. And so he came back around. He had not been in my business years. He was in a whole nother organization 10 years prior. And he called me. He said, I want to get back started with you. And I want to get back started and like to do it. You've proved that it works. And so he became another platinum leg. You just never know where it's going to come from, folks. You just go on faith. And you trust that it's going to work, and it does. And then our 10th leg was actually Stephanie and Drew, who was 3 months old when we got started. And they got started in the business when he was 18. He came to me right before he turned 18, and he said, will you teach me how to make money? And I said, yeah, when you turn 18, I will. I said, but here's a couple of books for you to read in the meantime. And I gave him How to Have Confidence and Power in Dealing with People, and probably Magic of Thinking Big. And we went on a little trip when we were already diamonds, and we were already executive diamonds at this point. And we went on a trip when the girls graduated from high school or whatever to the Atlantis, and just a little trip for them. And when I got back, he gave me a book report on how to have confidence and power in dealing with people. And I was impressed with that. I thought, here's what I prayed for all this time. I knew they were serious, and he's already jumping in and wanting to grow and learn. And he said, can I get started? I said, when you turn 18, I'll get you started. And so Andrew got registered at 18 years old. And I remember he and Stephanie skipped their junior, senior prom to come to a free enterprise day, a big celebration day of new diamonds and stuff. And a couple, Greg and Laurie Duncan, who are crowns out on the West Coast, triple diamond, something like they were in as guest speakers. And they skipped their junior, senior prom because he wanted to hear Greg Duncan speak. And so, I knew I'd found me a guy that I'd prayed for, and he's become my best friend, my best buddy, and I learn from him. He studies the business. Every time he's doing a webcast or something, or I just tune in and I just listen, because I don't claim to know it all, but I'm a student. I'll always be a student. From anybody. It doesn't matter, upline, downline, crossline, anybody who's got fruit, I want to hear what they got to say. The people that don't listen to are the people that don't have fruit, the people that are critics and try to put you down and tell you can't do something. I heard that enough all my life. I heard school teachers telling me, you'll never make it, you'll never account to anything. Told a couple of my friends, quit hanging out with Snipes, he's never going to amount to anything. Because the thing was, it's amazing how we can take something in our brain and just adapt that as that's our destiny. I remember my third grade teacher still telling me, she said, my sister was 6 years older than me, straight A student, all the stuff, homecoming queen, did everything right. And I come on in the third grade, and I remember my third grade teacher grabbing my ear going, your sister could draw circles around you. And, that wasn't very encouraging for how old are you in the third grade? 8 years old, 9 years old. And I still remember that today. Well, if I had let that scar me, but see, coming through school, I just figured, well, I'm just not capable of that much. I'm just have fun. I didn't crack books. I just said, I'm going to figure the shortcut to get out of here, and I'm going to have as much fun as I can. I'm going to play football, play basketball, play baseball. I chased her, and I was like, that's all I cared about. And so all the teachers were going, you'll never amount to anything. One of my teachers had a desk right in front of his desk. My history teacher, he said, Snipes, this is your desk this year. I want you to take a nap every day you get in here. Because he knew if I was awake, I was going to be cutting up, throwing spitballs, doing something. He just said, just go to sleep, you know. And boy, if they could see us now, they would be astonished, because that's how good this business is. That's how good this system is. And what you have to do is not let other people make your decisions on how you do it. And I'm not saying we're the sharpest tool in the box. We still do stupid stuff. Listen, we've been to Peter Island now 13, 14 times, something like that. Somewhere around the 12th, 13th time. You'd think I'd learn how to... You'd think I'd figured some brain cells out by then, okay? All right? But I'm at Peter Island. Dave Van Andel is in the spa. I'm in the spa. I just got through getting a massage. It's beautiful right there overlooking the water. They got these little huts, and the water just laps up, and you hear it, and you're getting a massage. It's so cool. And I just got mine. I go into the locker room to change, and Dave Van Andel's in there. And he's got his 180-foot yacht sitting at the marina, brand new yacht down there. And I'm like, hey, Dave, how you doing? He said, how you doing? And I said, man, I like your yacht. And I said, well, that's a dream of mine one day. He goes, well, we got one for sale if you'd like one, because they were selling the Enterprise 4 at that time. And I was like, well, it's a little beyond my reach right now, okay? But I said, it's mighty pretty. And so I'm just trying to make conversation and everything. And I'm getting ready to walk out. And I said, well, hey, I said, tell your dad hello and tell him thanks for the opportunity he opened up for us. And he goes, I wish I could. And then it hit me. His dad had passed away about 2 years prior to that. And I go, well, you know, my mom passed away a couple years ago, and I still talk to her all the time, you know. And he just looked at me like, how did you get here? Okay. And so I'm telling you, we've done some stupid things. I remember our first Diamond Club. I have hogged all the time. I'm sorry.
No, I do have to tell you, we've done some right things too.
Yeah, we've done some right things too, obviously, but I'm giving you hope. I remember our first Diamond Club. I told you about the motorcycle accident. Well, this time
46 seconds.
46 seconds. Okay, I'll be quick. Okay, half of my head was still drooping down from the motorcycle accident. I mean, it was like drooping down. Okay, and I'd done nothing but eat lemon pies this whole time. When I was getting my strength back, people kept bringing food over, and I was just going, just getting bigger and bigger. My face was drooping down, and we go to Hawaii to Grand Wailea. It had been open 1 year. It was the second year it was open. It was our first Diamond Club. And Larry, our sponsor, Larry Winters, Larry and Pam, on the way, we stopped at Rodeo Drive because Pretty Woman, that movie had come out, and we had seen all that. So we stayed at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel, and we took our wives shopping on Rodeo Drive on the way to Hawaii. And so when he's coming across out of the street, the time's up. I wish I could tell you the story, okay? I apologize. Can I have 3 more minutes? Okay, all right. I'll be quick. Okay, all right. You got to hear this. This will be a good way to end. Okay, we'll have some fun. All right. So he's walking across the street at Rodeo Drive. A guy runs a red light and boom, hits him. And he's in a red Ferrari and hits Larry and clips him, and he flips up over the hood of the car. And the guy hits the brakes, and he's like, oh, my goodness. He just sees a lawsuit coming. Okay, I know he was scared as all get out. And he's like, and Larry, he's like, I'm okay. I'll be fine. Well, ended up, he went and got it checked out. You know, he just told the guy, I'm good. But he went and got it checked out. They're at a hospital in L.A., and it had fractured his ankle. Okay, and so they put it in a soft cast because they were like, it's going to still swell. We can't do anything. We were on the way to Hawaii. So they put it in a soft cast, and we get to Hawaii. And now, you got to understand, Larry's like 5'4", and so that means his legs are about 24 inches long. Okay, all right? and so he's in a wheelchair, and I'm walking around overweight with half of my head drooping down. Okay, all right? And so I'm pushing Larry around the Grand Wailea, okay? And they have the wheelchair ramps, and there's little pickets, and I'd get going too fast, and I'm trying to hold him back, and his leg would be right next to the rails, and he'd be going, oh! all the way down. And so we were, I know people thought we were on pain medicine because we laughed the whole week. I mean, everything was funny. I don't know what it was. Everything was funny. Renata and Pam would walk about 20 paces in front of us like they didn't know us. They wouldn't even say with us. And we're back there, and I'm like, pushing him along, and he's sitting there with his little nub leg sticking out, okay? And it's got this big gauze on it, and it's like a big club at the end. And so we go down to the spa, and at the Grand Wale, you go down to this marble hallway, this entrance. It's gorgeous. This spa is like amazing, all right? And so we go out, and I pull up to the desk, and Larry, he laughs like crazy. And so he's sitting there, and he didn't know I was going to do this. I said, let's go in here and check out the spa. And he goes, okay. And so I'm pushing him in there, and we pull up to the little reception desk. And I said, ma'am, he just had his foot amputated. And I said, do you have anybody that could massage his nub? And he's sitting there with his leg stuck out, and it only went about this far, and there's this big club at the end. And he's sitting in the chair going, and he's purple. He's trying to hold back from laughing, and she thinks he's in pain. And she's like, well, I think so. Well, see, my face is drooping. I can't even laugh. I'm just, can you massage his nub? And so she's like, oh my gosh, and it was like, and so she's like, well, I think so. And so I said, well, it's really hurting him. I said, it's tender, but I think it would really help him. And she's like, oh, okay. And then finally he just goes, and he's screaming, and she looks at us and she goes, you're mean. And so we go into the hallway, and now it's just marble, and we are screaming for 15 minutes, just laughing. We couldn't get over it. The more we laughed, the more we wanted to laugh. And it was that was our first Diamond Club. And it was like, I know the DeVos and Van Andel families. I know if Jody had known us then, he would have gone, who are these people? He could never believe that we had qualified to be there. We had to be just civilians or something, and so, but anyway, here's the deal. If you just have a desire and you just keep believing in your dreams and you just work on yourself and you encourage people and believe in people and learn to laugh at yourself and learn to have fun, here's what's going to happen. You can build a team that you can go through life together, and it'll be the most rewarding thing that you could ever have. And, we look back today on our life, and this year will be our 26th trip to Diamond Club. And it's going to be right back at the Grand Wale, right where our first one was. It never gets old. It never gets old. It's so worth whatever it is you've got to go through. Just realize any challenge is temporary. And a setback is a setup for something greater. When you have the right attitude, you're going to come out on the other side stronger, better, and ready to receive all God's got for you. This is the best business you could ever have. You got the most phenomenal upline in Jody and Kathy and this team, and you got a team to run with, and we can change the world. We can give people hope. They need hope. They need answers, and we've got it. So let's be bold about our business. Let's be proud of our business and know there's nothing even close to what we have. And let's keep it strong and keep our nation strong and vote for people who are going to keep free enterprise strong. And let's do our part to make America great and keep it great and give people hope. So we've enjoyed being with y'all tonight. It's been a blessing. God bless you.
This is a copyrighted program of Legacy Leadership Collective, powered by Markerman Productions, affiliated with MarkerNet Incorporated. Duplication of this program is strictly prohibited. The success depicted in this profile may reflect income from sources other than Amway, such as earnings from the sale of training and educational materials or other businesses and investments. For existing IBOs only, not for use with prospects. While the techniques and approaches suggested have worked for others, no one can guarantee that these techniques and approaches will work for you. In addition, we want to emphasize that success in this business does not come without hard work.
do a demo, who knows what you've done? I think it's like I look at it and I think about release notes or release note basically. If you don't do a demo, either people wouldn't know about it. So I think even it could even be used for marketing purposes. Hey, we've done this. This is what it is. This is how to use it. This is how it works within the system. So it helps users to know what has been released